Hi, Merry Meet. So today I want to review a book. And the book I want to review is Egyptian Revenge Spells, Ancient Rituals for Modern Payback by Claudia R. Dillaire. First of all, I really like the cover of this book with the beat up hieroglyphics guy. So, what do I think about this book? Well, it is rather tongue-in-cheek. So it approaches the topic of curses from a very, well, tongue-in-cheek way. And I think that this is sort of good and sort of not good. Because, for example, if you have a look here on the title page, if my camera wants to show it, there we are. It says for entertainment only. Yeah, except that the author is Wiccan and she does present this as real spells and real rituals, so it is intended for people to use. Then it's not for entertainment only. So is this just a spell book? No, it discusses the concept of curses, especially with a Egyptian tint, but you know me, anything that says ancient Egyptian, I am skeptical about. Because unless it comes directly from the coffin texts, generally, oh, I hate it when my necklaces are out of sync, or it's crooked, I mean. Anyway, anything that most of what claims to be ancient Egyptian isn't. Just that most that claims to be real druidry isn't. It's modern interpretations. Not that that is bad in and of itself. A lot of these modern interpretations are quite good, but they are nonetheless modern interpretations. So yeah. Now, one thing I found a bit peculiar about this book is that the author is Wiccan, and she make a point of mentioning that in the foreword. And most Wiccans have the threefold law and follow that, and thereby curses would be a no-no. Now, granted, in more traditional Wicca, like a Guardian Wicca and a lot of the practices that Wicca is based on, you do have darker practices. But some of these here are pure curses. Like, one thing is a spell that, for example, is a protection ritual, where if somebody sends negativity to you, they will get their own negativity back. That a lot of Wiccan paths will allow, because it is basically not you really hurting them, you're just putting up right back at you. But quite a few of the spells in here, while there are a few of those send the negativity back, quite a few are direct curses. They are ways to harm someone. And now, I'm a left-hand path practitioner. I do at times use curses. So, I don't have a problem with it. But I think that some people who are Wiccan might have a problem with the book, not just because of the subject matter, but because the author makes a point of being Wiccan. And for quite a few people that would be about like if somebody makes a point of being Christian and then writes about how to summon the devil. No, I know that that's a shallow, it's very shallow, it doesn't go into depth, because in the more traditional practices, things that could be considered curses are included. But to this extent, no. So yeah, I do like that the book do discuss in quite some detail the morality of curses, when they should be used, when they shouldn't be used, and that's a good chapter, because the way I, for example, look at curses, it's magical violence. Now, I'm not a pacifist. I think that there are times when I would use violence. If somebody attacks me, for example, if somebody really hurts me or my loved ones, hell, I would want revenge. So, but I wouldn't go and use violence against someone who has slighted me in some small way. And I think that it's very important to remember that. I don't think that magical violence is any worse or better than physical violence. I think that casting a curse on someone and going and knocking them down with your fists, that's the same thing. It's doing people harm, and it doesn't really matter if you use spiritual methods or physical ones. It's still violence. And yeah. And I think that the book addresses that. It isn't completely dismissive of curses, like you should never do this ever, you should only use positive magic and so on. But at the same time, it doesn't take very lightly on it. It does point out that you should consider pretty well before you do a curse. However, this contrasts a little bit with the light-hearted nature of the cover and some of the tongue-in-cheek way that things are presented. I think that if you're going to discuss a very serious topic like curses, then having the book very tongue-in-cheek might not be such a good idea. So yeah, another thing that I really hate in here is a spell for breaking up a couple. Of course presented that if somebody you love is in a dangerous relationship or is in a bad relationship, of course a bad relationship that you think is bad for them, then this is how you can break them up. And I think that is extremely arrogant. It is saying that I know better than these people what's good for them. Of course there are times that you see a friend or a loved one in a relationship and you're thinking that really isn't good for them. But really, people have to make up their own minds. People all have free will. And while my advice, starting to use spells for breaking people up, I don't really see a difference. If you do this for selfish reasons, because you want the other person, for example, or if you do it because you think you know best. I actually, to a certain degree, think it's worse to do it because you think you know best, because then you have this false I know what's best for you attitude, and I just can't stand that. Now, I don't judge people what they use their magic for, so if they want to do a curse to break somebody up, it's their choice. But I don't think you should hide with, oh, my intents are so pure. So yeah. As for the rest of the books, there are some good spells here. Some are pure protection magic, others are straight up curses, and anything in between. However, the section that just gives curses and rituals like a spellbook is very small. Most of it discuss the topic of Egyptian revenge magic. So if you aren't the type that like to do pre-made spells and don't like to buy spellbooks, this book might still be for you. So let's have a look what's in the book, shall we? So yeah, we have an index in here. We have acknowledgements and an introduction, of course. Then we have basic revenge magic, the basics of it, incantation spells and rituals, which is very much also, well, there are some rituals in there. It discusses the topic. Egyptian deities for revenge magic, that's an important topic. But deities to contact and work with for curses and general revenge magic. Recipes for spells, there we have the spellbook to a certain degree, but let me just find the chapter so I can show you. 56, 56, come on. Basically, this is recipes, and I think that's a very nice chapter. It doesn't give you pre-made spells, but it gives you recipes for oils, for tinctures, for various how to make these things. Sometimes you use those alone for the spell, but other times you use those as components. Spellcasting Egyptian style, like I said, I doubt it's authentic, but it's interesting. Then we have Revenge Spells. This is the spell book that shows some concrete spells. And yeah, then you have a bibliography, resources for spells, and an index. So yeah, I think the book, being not a very big book, has pretty good content. You get a lot of bang for your buck. There are quite a bit of information in here. And it is a book that sort of introduces the topic of magical violence in a way that's not. Basically, usually you will either find books that says you should never do that, it's bad, your head will explode, karma will come and get you, it will eat your kitten, it will mess you up. Or you have books that is extremely on the left-hand path. This is a balanced approach. So if you have been interested in revenge magic, in curses, but you don't want to go the route of the left-hand path, then this book might be for you. So yeah, visually it is a pleasing book. It is hardbound, and the script and the decorations are glossy. I like these vines or whatever it is, these designs. It's a pretty book. It's very, here's some ingredients lists. It's easy to read. The lists and various such things are very well done. It's written in red and black, so to make lists easier, and the red is a dark terracotta red, which shows up very easily on the page and is easy on the eyes. I cannot complain there. Yeah, it's a quality, high production book. See how many pages there are? There are 184 pages. So yeah. On the plus side, the book is very informative. It's not just a spell book. It goes into some depth on curses with an Egyptian tint. It is a very good option if you are interested in curses but are not on the left-hand path and therefore don't want any of the more darker books. It goes into the morality of it and does a pretty well job. The negative point is that it is sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of serious, and that doesn't mix well. And at times it can be very self-righteous in the form that, yeah, you have the right to break up somebody else's relationship if you feel it's bad for them, and so on. All in all, I think this is a good book. It's not for everyone, and like I said, if you're Wiccan, you might be insulted that this person writes as a Wiccan and writes something that many Wiccans consider taboo. So be aware of that before you consider getting this book. I also think that even if you are not a magic practitioner, this might just be a book that's a fun tongue-in-cheek book to give somebody as a gift. It's definitely sort of marketed like that, but it's also about real magic, and I'm not sure if I necessarily like the combination of that. But I think that it could be a fun gift to give somebody who has just gotten out of a relationship and something like that. Though of course I don't think that you should try to mess with magic unless you know what you are doing, but there you have it. All in all, I'll give this between 6 and 7 out of 10. It's a good book, it's not perfect, but I am pleased with it. And that is my review of Egyptian Revenge Spells by Claudia R. Dillaire. I hope you have enjoyed this review, and blessed be.